Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve the issue that you see on your screen of your garment might be super bouncy, you might be getting avatar parts stuck in pattern pieces, or like we see on the sleeve, the garment's not even staying on the avatar in areas. So let me show you how to fix this. So go ahead and pull up your file with your problematic garment. And the first thing we're going to do is, let me just open up my full 2D window here, 3D window. All right, so I'm going to click on my avatar, left click. Now that gives me all the properties for just the avatar. We're not clicking on the garment, we're just clicking somewhere on the avatar itself. Now you're going to hunt for the blue surface heading, and under that you'll see static friction. So you're going to change static friction. The default is probably going to be 0.8. You want to change that to 1. We're just going to give it a little boost. You can't go higher than 1, so it's just a minor change, but I think it really helps. Okay, now we're going to select all of our pattern pieces and just triple check that everything is additional thickness collision 2.5. So I'm noticing this says 1. So let's go ahead and change that. 2.5, enter. And it's still red, which kind of makes me nervous. So what I'm going to do is unselect, now reselect everything by dragging over and just double check. Okay, great. Yeah, I was just a little paranoid, but it saved the 2.5. Okay. Now I'm going to select my fabrics. In this garment specifically, both fabrics were giving me trouble, so that's why I'm selecting both. You might not need to do all of these adjustments, but I'm just showing you what worked for me in the worst case scenario example that we're working with. Okay, so I've got both of my fabrics selected. So just to show you how I did that, I'm left clicking, I'm holding shift on my keyboard to select multiple, and I'm left clicking the second fabric. All right, so now all of my fabrics are selected. Note I'm selecting my fabrics. That's different from dragging over my pattern pieces. Okay, you're going to get a different menu and it's not going to work. So select your fabric, left click, hold down shift, left click. Now in my property editor, we are going to change the friction. So to find it, it'll be hidden. You'll have to kind of hunt for it. It'll usually be under physical property. You might have different settings here. I'm able to change the values, batch change the values. You might have to change one fabric at a time, but for me, I'm able to change both. So under physical property, I'm going to expand detail, and it gives me all this crazy stuff. And we're just going to ignore all of this. We're looking for friction. So here it is at the bottom. So I'm going to go from 3, which is the default setting for the fabrics here, and I'm going to change this to 20. This is what worked for me. You might not need to make this adjustment. You might need to make a different adjustment, but this worked for me. All right, so now I've changed my fabric to 20. Now I'm going to right click on my avatar, and I'm going to move all avatars and garments to ground. Why am I doing that? Well, you can see she's floating here. So if I right click, move all avatars and garments to ground, there she goes. Now she's on the ground. All right, she's standing on the ground. No more levitating. Okay, I'm going to press 2 to just get her back in my window. Now I'm going to just focus on my 3D window, so I'm going to close my 2D window. I'm going to now add animation. So to do that, I'm using my new library. I'm going to click this blue button up here. I'm going to go to avatar. Since I'm working with female avatars, I need to stick with the female category and click until I see motion. So find motion for your category, then double click to add any motion you want. I'm going to double click this one, walking in dress. If you don't see this open motion dialog box pop up, that means the motion didn't add. So go back and investigate, maybe just try double clicking again. You don't need to make any changes. The default settings are fine. So I'm just going to hit OK. All right. So now I'm going to just close this because we're done here. Now we're going to simulate the motion. So just to let it fully apply to the avatar. And it's going to, it's going to move a little bit because it's just refitting onto this avatar with the added motion. So we're just going to let this kind of run its course, make sure that nothing is too bouncy or wiggly. This is fine. So I'm just going to give that a moment to kind of settle. If it is moving too much, you need to make adjustments. I recommend going back and adjusting the friction settings on your fabric. Okay, especially if you're able to isolate, like, okay, the skirt fabric is definitely the more problematic one versus the bodice or the sleeve, whatever's going on in your garment. You can kind of triage, pinpoint the situation that way. Okay, so once my once my avatar isn't moving anymore, looks like everything's stable, everything's settled. Let me press 2 to get a front view. Yeah, everything's pretty much stable. This is okay. I'm just going to kind of let it sit a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to turn off simulation. Now we're going to open the animation editor. So to do that, we're going to find animation here at the very top. Click, open the animation editor. So now we are going to change our simulation quality to animation stable. So here under simulation quality, I'm going to go to this pull down menu, animation stable. If you're not able to select this pull down menu, it's probably because you forgot to turn off you forgot to turn off simulation. So turn off simulation and then you'll be able to adjust this. Now, after you make this adjustment, your property editor changed. So under your property editor, look for time step. This one is super important. It's like a random little value that has a big impact. So we're going to change this from 0.03 to 0.1. Enter. All right. Now I am noticing, and this happened in the Zoom session, the animation didn't record the full animation when I went to record it. And that was because for some reason, the default end frame is at 100. But if you look here, the motion itself is actually 300 frames. So go ahead and update your end frame to whatever value is here. Most motions are going to probably be around 300, but I've seen different motions with different time or different frame values. So update your end frame to match what's going on here so that you get the full motion. So I'm going to highlight this, 300 for the end frame, enter. And that will really be the only change that you need to make there. Now I want to remove my grid. So I'm going to go to my toggle menu here under environment display. Looks like the little globe. wireframe globe, we're going to uncheck show ground grid just to make that go away. I like the shadow, so I'm going to keep the shadow. We are also going to make sure that our seam lines don't have any baselines or anything. So I'm just going to go to garment display here in my vertical toggle menu. I'm going to check show seam lines because I think that's a nice detail. I'm going to make sure that internal lines and baselines are turned off. Perfect. And then I'm also just going to give my render a little boost by checking this quality render. And I'm going to press 2 to go back to my front view. Let me just do one last simulation just to make sure I don't have anything wiggly or bouncing off of my avatar. All right, looks pretty good. One thing that I did forget to do, you can go ahead and make your, let me just stop simulation. You can make your pattern pieces all between 8 and 10 particle distance. So I'm just selecting my pieces here. I'm going to my property editor and I'm looking for simulation properties, particle distance. It's at 15, so let's go to 10, just make it as nice as we can get it. And then I'm going to go back to my 3D view here. Looks like it needs a moment to capture the updates I'm making, so 1 second. All right, so going back to my 3D view as soon as it allows me, there we go. And I'm going to press 2 to get my front view on my keyboard. All right, so now I'm ready to continue on with the regular tutorial. So I'm going to just click this button, my slider, go to start, just make sure my slider is there. I'm going to click record. And this is where we kind of just set it and forget it for a minute. It's going to take about 15 minutes or so. Looks like it says remaining time here. So yeah, 15, 16 minutes. So I'm not going to make you guys watch the grass grow here. I will check back in with you after this is done recording. We are back. So after about 15 minutes, my recording finished. So now I need to continue on with the rest of the process. So to do that, I'm just going to click this to go back to the beginning. And then I'm going to File, up here at the top left, Video Capture Animation. And you're going to look for this little pop-up. It popped up on my bottom right screen. So it's really small. So just make sure you don't miss this pop-up because that's where you're going to be doing all of your editing here. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this guy to give us more room and minimize this guy and this. And I'm going to change my video size. Let's see. I'm just going to use this standard 1024 by 768. Landscape works, and I'm just going to get a little bit closer using my scroll wheel to zoom in a little bit more so we can see all the detail. And now I'm going to press this record button. So now we are recording the animation. The previous step, we were just adding the motion, animating the garment. Now we're going to be capturing the movement. So click record, and this will start to move. It'll be really slow at first. So I'm just trying to make sure that I've got my avatar on screen for the entire time. If I'm going to change video angles or camera angles, I need to press this pause button and then make my adjustment. So resist the temptation, resist the urge to start using your mouse to travel around the avatar, because your recording's just going to be really choppy. You're not going to like it. So I'm just going to kind of let her do her walk, making sure that I can see everything, the whole garment, the avatar. So even though this is taking a really long time, I've only recorded 1 second of video. Okay. So it's doing its thing. Now, before she walks off screen, I'm going to hit pause. All right, so she's paused. So now I'm just going to use my middle scroll wheel to reposition her kind of more in the center. Maybe I'll get a little bit closer. And I'm going to hit pause again to resume. So whatever we see on screen is what video you are capturing. So if you don't like the video, then go ahead and cancel and, try again. But right now we're just generating the video so that we can edit it in another software later. So she's about to fall off the screen. I'm just going to pause right now and zoom out a little bit just to give her a little more room to work here. Maybe I'll just slide this over. I'm just kind of guessing where her path is, where she's going to be traveling. So now I'm going to hit pause again to resume. So just a reminder, your actual video won't be this slow. It's just right now while we're recording. So before she walks off screen, I'm pausing. I'm just zooming out a little bit. Maybe I can change my angle here by rotating. And I'm just moving her back onto the frame, zooming in a little bit, just so I can capture this motion from multiple angles. There we go. Resume here. I'm going to pause again just to get her framed up well here. Maybe just move this around. Zoom out a little bit. Rotate. You know, whatever you think shows off your design the best. That's the angle that you want. So we'll get a nice back view here. All right, looks like this ended, so I'm going to hit stop. Now we can see what our recording looks like. So I'm going to hit play. Beautiful, cool, cool. Love the angles. Most importantly, love how my dress is behaving. So now I'm going to hit save, and I could save this wherever I want. So I'll just call this, look one final or whatever it is. All right. And then you can go ahead and follow the other tutorial for adding this to your compilation, your fashion show videos. All right. Hope this helps. Reach out with any questions.